Aisling was the daughter of a Druid, but she had no interest in following her father's footsteps. She loved to explore the woods, sing with the birds, and dance with the fairies. She had a gift for talking to animals and plants, but she kept it a secret from everyone except her best friend Fionn, a young wolfhound. One day, as she was wandering in the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing where a strange stone circle stood. She felt drawn to it, as if it was calling her name. She stepped inside the circle and touched one of the stones. Suddenly, she felt a surge of energy run through her body, and she saw visions of another time and place. She saw warriors clad in leather and fur fighting against invaders, with iron swords and helmets. She saw druids chanting spells and invoking gods and goddesses. She saw kings and queens ruling over clans and tribes. She saw magic flowing through everything like blood. She gasped and pulled away from the stone. She realized that she had seen glimpses of her ancestors' lives. She wondered what it meant. Why did the stone show her these things? Was it trying to tell her something? She heard Fionn bark behind her. He had followed her to the clearing and sensed something was wrong. He nudged her gently with his nose and licked her face. "Are you all right?" he asked telepathically. "Yes, I'm fine," she said aloud. "I just saw something." "What did you see?" "I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you should ask your father." "No," she said quickly. "He would never understand." "Why not?" "He thinks magic is dangerous and forbidden. He only uses it for healing or protection." "But you have magic too." "I know, but I don't want him to know." "Why not?" "Because he would try to make me stop using it or send me away to some druid school." "But you love your magic." "I do, but I love my freedom more." She hugged Fionn tightly. "Come on," she said. "Let's go home before he notices we're gone." She ran out of the clearing, with Fionn by her side. But she couldn't forget what she had seen. And neither could the stone circle. It had been waiting for someone like her for a long time. Someone who could awaken its power. Someone who could change history. The next day, Aisling decided to go back to the stone circle. She was curious about what else it could show her. She told Fionn to stay at home and snuck out of the house. She ran through the forest until she reached the clearing. She entered the circle and touched another stone. This time, she saw a different vision. She saw a young woman with long red hair and green eyes wearing a white dress and a golden torque around her neck. She was standing on a hill overlooking a valley where a battle was raging. She held a staff in her hand and spoke words of power. She saw the woman raise her staff and summon a storm of lightning and thunder that struck down many of the invaders. She saw the woman smile triumphantly as she watched her enemies flee in terror. She saw the woman turn around and face a man who was riding towards her on a black horse. He had dark hair and blue eyes and wore armor and a cloak. He had a sword at his side and a shield on his arm. He stopped his horse in front of her and dismounted. He bowed respectfully and said something that Aisling couldn't hear. She saw the woman nod and smile back at him. She reached out her hand and he took it. They walked together towards a tent where other people were waiting for them. They looked happy and in love. Aisling felt a pang of envy. She wished she could have someone like that. someone who would love her for who she was, someone who would share her magic. She let go of the stone and blinked away tears. She realized that she had seen one of her ancestors again. But this time, it was someone she admired, someone she wanted to be like. Aisling wanted to know more about the woman and the man. She touched another stone and hoped to see them again. She saw a different vision. She saw the woman and the man sitting in a throne room surrounded by other people. They looked older and wiser, but still beautiful and strong. They wore crowns and robes of royalty. They were king and queen of a great kingdom. She saw them listening to a messenger who had just arrived from a distant land. He brought news of a new threat that was coming their way. He said that a powerful wizard had risen to power in the east and was gathering an army of dark creatures to conquer the world. He said that the wizard had already destroyed many kingdoms and was heading towards theirs. He said that they needed to prepare for war. She saw the king and queen necks change worried glances. They knew that this was no ordinary enemy. They knew that they would need more than swords and shields to fight him. They knew that they would need magic. They thanked the messenger and dismissed him. They turned to their advisors and asked for their opinions. Some of them suggested forming an alliance with other kingdoms that were still free from the wizard's influence. Some of them suggested sending spies and assassins to infiltrate the wizard's ranks and sabotage his plans. Some of them suggested building fortifications and stockpiling weapons and supplies. But none of them had a clear solution. The king and queen looked at each other again. They knew what they had to do. They had to face the wizard themselves. The king and queen gathered their best warriors and mages and set out to face the wizard. They left their kingdom in the hands of their trusted regent, who promised to protect it until they returned. They traveled for many days and nights, crossing mountains and rivers, forests and deserts. They fought many battles along the way against the wizard's minions and allies. They lost some of their companions, but they never gave up hope. They finally reached the wizard's stronghold, a dark castle surrounded by a wall of fire. They breached the wall with their magic and stormed the castle. They fought their way through hordes of enemies until they reached the throne room where the wizard awaited them. He was a tall man with pale skin and black hair. He wore a cloak of feathers and bones and held a staff of iron and blood. He had a cruel smile on his face as he saw them enter. "Welcome, my guests," he said mockingly. "I've been expecting you." He raised his staff and unleashed a blast of dark magic at them. The king and queen dodged the attack and countered with their own spells. A fierce duel ensued between them and the wizard. The air was filled with flashes of light and sound, sparks and smoke. The king and queen fought bravely and skillfully, but they were outnumbered by one. The wizard had more power than they expected. He had learned secrets from ancient books that no one else knew. He slowly gained the upper hand over them. He wounded them with his spells. He taunted them with his words. He laughed at their efforts. He was about to finish them off when something unexpected happened. Aisling appeared in front of them. She had followed them to the castle without their knowledge. She had used her gift to talk to animals and plants along the way. She had hidden herself from sight with her magic. She had seen everything that happened in the throne room. She couldn't stand by any longer. She stepped out of her hiding place and faced the wizard. She looked at him with defiance in her eyes. She said nothing but raised her hand towards him. As Aisling raised her hands towards the wizard, she felt a surge of power flowing through her. She felt the magic of her ancestors and the magic of the stone's circle merging with her own. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer to the goddess of the earth. The wizard laughed and raised his hands too. He cast a spell that sent a wave of darkness towards Aisling. She opened her eyes and saw the darkness approaching her. She didn't flinch. She spread her arms wider and chanted a counter spell. Her voice was clear and strong, and the words flowed from her mouth like a river. She felt the energy of the earth, the air, and the fire responding to her call. She felt the darkness dissipating and turning into light. She felt the wizard's spell breaking and recoiling back at him. The wizard cried out in pain and stumbled back. He looked at Aisling in shock and horror. He saw her surrounded by a halo of light and an aura of power. He saw her eyes glowing with the colors of the rainbow. He knew that he had met his match. He knew that he had lost. He turned around and ran away as fast as he could. He knew that he had to flee or else face the consequences. He knew that he had to find a new place to hide or else face the wrath of the king and queen. Aisling watched him go and smiled. She felt proud of herself and her ancestors. She felt grateful for the stone circle and its secrets. She felt blessed by the goddess and her gifts. She turned around and saw the king and queen standing behind her. They looked at her with awe and respect. They knew that they had found a new ally and a new friend. They thanked her for her help and invited her to their castle. They said that they wanted to honor her and her magic. They said that they wanted to learn from her and her wisdom. Aisling smiled and accepted their invitation. She knew that she had found a new home and a new family. She knew that she had found a new purpose and a new destiny. She walked towards them and hugged them both. She felt their love and their warmth. She felt their joy and their hope. She felt happy and alive. Join me on my journey of AI storytelling by subscribing to my channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Your support means everything to me, and I can't wait to share my latest creations with you. Thank you for your continued support, and I hope to see you soon.